Comment in chat if you guessed. I know a few people managed to mention the sagas and then brought up Brunhilde and Sigurd. That was definitely the reference I was making. So if anyone thought about it, comment in chat. I mean, did you expect us to do Eric Bloodaxe? I'm pretty sure I asked for this one to be inserted into the schedule.
I'm gonna have to just remember not to bring this up later, but there's a common joke in the Fate community that Eric Bloodaxe is forgotten about by everybody, including the devs.
Aww. Well, I didn't forget about Eric.
I mean, look how many tabs we have.
Oh. I didn't forget about Bloodaxe. I specifically asked for Bloodaxe this month. Like, I wanted another Norse sort of servant. Cause yeah. Oh, the most forgotten servant. The most boring servant. Oh. Well, I'm gonna do... Well, Acto DK, I'm gonna do my best to prove you wrong.
Well, why don't you go ahead and get started here?
So, we actually have a lot about Eric Bloodaxe when you consider history and the sagas. Which means this is not necessarily going to be short on my end. Eric Bloodaxe was born Eric Haraldsson, right? The Norse tradition, name yourself after your father and then son or daughter, was a 10th century king who ruled as in Northumbria and in Norway for several different reigns across different times. As you can see up there, it says he succeeded Harald I from 931 to 933 as King of Norway, but he served 2 terms as King of Northumbria, once from 947 to 948, and once from 952 to 954, meaning he was not very successful. He also died at the end of that third one, if you don't notice. He died in 954, which means his successor probably murdered him. Yep.
Died on, like, battlefield or died on the throne?
Battle of Steinmoor.
Ah.
Yeah. However, he was married to Gunhild, the Mother of Kings.
Mother of Kings.
The Mother of Kings. So, we've got a pretty reconstructed narrative of his life from a combination of kind of historical data, of like contemporary and near contemporary sources of his time as ruler of Northumbria, which, as I mentioned earlier in stream, is an area in the British Isles that's basically the north of England and the south of Scotland as a region called Northumbria. And then his supposedly his time as Eric of Norway, right, like King of Norway, is entirely based in the sagas, right? That is not necessarily in historical record, but if you kind of combine it all, you come up with this kind of story of the life of Eric Bloodaxe. Theoretically, he may have been accidentally identified with, theoretically, these two sources are the same people, right? Like, we think that they've been identified together for the last 800 years or so, but some people dispute this and say that this is actually the case of 2 different Erics who just existed at a very similar time, right? Interestingly enough, he's relatively obscure in history, right, outside of kind of his 2 reigns, but there is a lot of depictions of him in the King's sagas, right, because he's part of the saga of his father, Harald Fairhair, and his young brother, Hakon the Good, which includes the Synoptics Historia Norwegia and Theodoricus's Monarchs Historia de Antiquitate Regum Norwegiensum. Written in around 1100. He's also in another one written in around 1190, and then the later Icelandic saga of Orkneyinga saga, and then like a bunch of other. He's also described in the Heimskringla of Snorri Sturluson, the Eagles saga, and the Olaf saga. So I mean, he is all over the sagas. He might be relatively like not the most written about person in actual historical records, but he is all fucking over, you know, kind of sagas and kind of the mythological sort of history of this part of the world, right? Like, he is not a minor character per se. So his last name, as written here, Bloodaxe, is actually an epithet. Obviously, it's not his birth last name, right? However, we don't actually have a for sure reason why he's called Bloodaxe. According to the sagas, it's supposed to be a reference to him killing his half brothers in order to rule over Norway. Theodoricus gave him the nickname like Killer of Brothers, Brotherbane, but contemporary stuff in terms of the actual history hasn't really attached it to him. So this is the epithet Bloodaxe is almost entirely based in the sagas, right? Not in kind of historical record of the King of Northumbria. This is a reference to the sagas where he's described as the King of Norway, right? So he's listed as Harald's son, right? And his predecessor was Harald the First. This is the part that's attributed in most of the sagas, right? This is why he's included in the saga of his father and then in the saga of his brother. There are several Haralds from this period. Somebody once argued that it might have been Harald Bluetooth, the King of Denmark, that they were actually referring to, which is actually where we get the little Bluetooth symbol from, which is actually fucking hilarious. But there's very few references to kind of that supposition, right? There's not a whole lot of evidence for it. Most people assume that the Harald being referred to is Harald the First, the King of Norway, right? So that seems to be the most easily ascribable option in terms of the sagas, because I don't know if y'all saw OSP's video, but I definitely mentioned it when we were doing the Sigurd and Brunhild video, and trying to deal with like historical record and then the sagas and then mythology in that area of the world is a little bit like herding a bunch of cats into a bag with no help when they know you want to give them a bath. It can be a struggle, and it doesn't help that there's a lot of similar names being repeated again and again and again. So he's got a mother and half brothers, right? That's the kind of the whole point of the Bloodaxe in the sagas. It's said that he kills some of his half brothers in order to ascend the throne, right? His mother's never named in some of the sagas, but in other ones it's said that she was named Ragnhildr, the daughter of a king of South Jutland. So, be as you will. It's said that his father may have married like a Danish princess as well. But this is literally different in every single version of the sagas. Like this is horribly confusing. I actually pulled out my copy of the sagas to do a bunch of research. Oh, it's over there for this, and it was a little bit like, turn to page 394, page 390, turn to page 17, go to page 17, turn to page 278, go to page 2, turn to the... It was very confusing to try to kind of track down a single person across so many different sagas when the accounts don't agree. Which, I mean, maybe that's why fate is just like, nah, I don't know. But there are most of the sagas do agree that his successor would be his younger half-brother Hakon the Good, right? According to the early sagas, he spent a lot of his childhood with Thorir, son of Hrold, and apparently, in his adolescence, by age 12, he was already of prodigious valor and strength, and embarked on a wonderful career of international piracy. He spent 4 years attacking the Baltic coasts and those of like Denmark, Germany, Frisia, another 4 years attacking Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and France, and then some time attacking Lapland, Bjarmaland, which is now northern Russia, and sailing up the Dvina River into the Russian hinterland of Permia and sacking a town there. This man had a wonderful career as a Viking. This man was really at it. According to one account that is near contemporary, he was received by a nobleman when he visited the king in the town of York. And because of this, he was given the wife Cathro, right? And Cathro, we don't know a ton about her other than she's like kind of British, Scottish descent. But according to the Egil saga, or Egil's saga, his consort at York was Gunhild, the mother of kings. This account was using an earlier poem, but does not mention her by name, saying that the name was probably introduced by the author of the Egil saga. So we've got some fun little confusion between Cathro and Gunhild, but with saga tradition, he did cohabitate with Gunhild, right? Like, he did live with her in sort of a married way, which is why most people cite her as his wife. So you just gotta accept that there's Cathro and then there's Gunhild, and either he had two wives or he had one wife who went by different names, or this man was cheating on two women. Which I wouldn't if one of them was Gunhild, but that's just me. So we get into, in the sagas, his main role is as the King of Norway. According to the Heimskringla, Harald appointed his sons as client kings over different areas of his kingdom, and intended Eric, his favorite son, to inherit the throne at his death. But he fought with his half-brother and brutally killed Ragnvald and Bjorn, which were rulers of two of these client kingdoms, and his half-brothers. So when Harald died, he succeeded to the throne, slaughtered the forces of his brother Olaf and Sigurd, and gained full control of Norway at this point. However, his younger and more famous half-brother Hakon had been staying as like a foster son to a man of the West Saxon court, King Aethelstan at the time. And so Eric's rule was like really harsh, like terrible. This man was like a despot, a tyrant, and really fell out of favor with Norwegian nobility. Like, this man was not doing good for himself. And so when Hakon returned to Norway, the nobility accepted him as a king and essentially ousted Eric, which then led to him fleeing to Britain. Right? And interestingly enough, the Heimskringla specifies then that Hakon owed his success in large part to Sigurd, the Earl of Lade. I don't think it's the same Sigurd, but it is pretty... Once again, multiple names, the same names reappearing multiple times. So the dates to his reign are pretty hard to ascribe, especially for this. This is entirely based on the sagas, and no actual historical contemporary record survives of this rule in Norway. So we don't actually know if historically this occurred, right? But this is what the sagas say happened. So then you get into kind of, the fleeing to England and stuff like that. So he arrives in England and is kind of welcomed there, right? And he was baptized and given charge of Northumbria by Aethelstan, the same man who supposedly fostered his half-brother, who then returned to Norway to overthrow them, which feels like that wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, if he was a tyrant and a despot, why would this man kind of welcome him, baptize him, and give him power, right? So he's given charge of Northumbria, but apparently his rule once again became absolutely fucking despotic and terrible, and he was driven out and killed on an expedition in Spain, according to discourse. According to the Historia Norwegia, it says that he went to Denmark at some point, which was his wife's native country, and therefore he expected to encounter some support there. But, we don't actually know. So, later sagas and records kind of expand upon his activities between his reigns in Norway and Northumbria. Apparently, initially, he had adopted a lifestyle of kind of raiding the coast, and he was in kind of involved with the Jarldom of Orkney. Apparently he may have had an alliance with some of the joint Jarls then, but then his Northumbria rule would be challenged later on. And apparently at one point he made a bunch of political marriages between his daughter and the future Earl of Orkney, right, to seal an alliance so that they could later target the Hebrides, Scotland, and England. And so he gave his daughter Ragnhild in marriage to the future Earl of Orkney, right? So then you get kind of the To be honest, Northumbria was a pretty popular area of England. Like, people had long fought over it because kind of the Saxon kings and the Norse kings of Dublin were kind of all fighting over this. It was like right in the middle between two kind of larger kingdoms, and it was relatively contested. But yeah, so Ethelstan, right, who had originally given him control of England, he died at some point, and his son Edmund the First was to take over. Now, if you look over there, underneath the kings of Northumbria, Edmund the First was the first predecessor of him. What do you think happened to Edmund the First?
Probably killed.
Probably killed, yeah. He was 18 years of age and was unable to maintain control. People started rebelling against him. Apparently, one of his cousins may have conspired to kill him, right? And at some point after that, Eric would come to power after like a long struggle for power, right? So, Eric's first reign only lasted like 1 year. Maybe even less than 1 year. He was not a popular king. People did not like him.
No.
The Northumbrians literally violated their pledges and oaths, right? To be disloyal.
Great warrior, great general, horrible king.
Horrible king. Like, man, he is somehow managing to come to power again and again and just fuck it up every goddamn time. Yeah.
3 tries and didn't even get it right on the last one.
Yep. So he was removed and cleared the way for another person, Amalaib, or Anlaf of Quirain, who was then defeated in Slain, returned to Northumbria, took kingship. Doesn't appear that the whole ton of stuff kind of happened in between here, but Eric had relationships with like a lot of famous like powerful people, right? Like Archbishop Wulfstan, who led the Northumbrian Church, and so on, which is really fascinating because what the actual fuck? You have friends everywhere. You are somehow managing to be militarily successful. Can you just chill the fuck out when you become king? Just rule well. Take your despotic shit and do it elsewhere. Don't do it here. Turn it towards your enemies, not your subjects.
It's like Gilgamesh if Gilgamesh never met Enkidu.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it's at this point that the life of the Scottish Saint Cathro of Metz kind of comes into play in between these. So Saint Cathro was a Scottish saint with a Brythonic name which visited a certain King Eric in York, right, according to records. This Eric was settled and married. It was probably on good terms with his neighbors, which does not seem like it would be Eric Bloodaxe. And this saint claims kinship with Eric's wife, but also with Dynfwai, the king of Strathclyde and Cumbria. Right, so this may have pointed to some sort of alliance, but this stay is dated to be between 940 and 943, when Constantine left Scotland to Malcolm I, and 946 when Edmund was slain. Which is why there's confusion among the Erics, because there's a King Eric existing at this time, but reputedly, he's a pretty good king. He has a lot of alliances. This should not be happening.
That does not match.
This doesn't work. He also spends some time as theoretically, according to a 12th century Irish saga, which is not super contemporary, but according to that, he spends some time as Eric of the Islands, which is Eric, ruler of the Hebrides, which is a series of islands. But once again, one source, non-contemporary, not a whole lot in it. He's literally just kind of referred to vaguely. So I feel like in a lot of ways when I was doing the research on this, it was really just a question of, do I really trust these historians who have decided that all these Erics are the same Erics? I'm not sure I agree that all these Erics are the same Erics. I'm really not sure. You know what I mean? Eric's a pretty common name. Maybe there was more than one Eric.
Also, just wondering, like, what time did this actually span, usually, like, these stories?
Do you mean, like, how long did a saga span, or how long was his lifespan?
Saga.
So, sagas could span anywhere from 2 years to 100 years. because they would just tell a story, and it didn't matter how long that story took.
Great. Perfect way to historically note shit. Yeah.
So, Federico Filippini in chat said, this is a while ago, so even history is like Eric Bloodaxe who?
Also, he's also just said, Eric of the many Eric. Yeah, that feels like what we're talking about here. So on to his death. This is the next part in our tale. So it seems as if there is at some point an account of his death, right, with Northumbrian politics in the fore. The Historia Regum recalls that he was driven out and slain by Maccus, son of Onlaf, but a different one adds the following detail. King Eric was treacherously killed by Earl Maccus in a certain lonely space which is called Stainmore, with his son Haeric and his brother Regnold, betrayed by Earl Oswulf, and then afterward King Eadred ruled in these districts. So Stainmore is in Westmoreland, which is part of Cumbria. It's the pass through the northern Pennines. It marks a boundary between east and west. And it is theoretically maybe the same route that St. Cathro may have taken, but in the opposite direction. But it is said that he was betrayed here and slain here. His death gets a pretty grand treatment in the histories and sagas. It's according to the Heimskringla, Eric and 5 other kings died together in battle, right, in this place. By the way, Vorn, in terms of record, right, think about this. The Heimskringla detailed the life of his father and is now covering his own death.
Great.
That's not even all that the Heimskringla covers. So, but yeah, the modern scholars are kind of one Eric among many Erics. Which Eric did what and where and when did they die? I am not going to go into each and every individual saga that mentions him in a slightly different way, because that would be folly. There is theoretically a monument where he died called the Ray Cross, or the Rare Cross, which is just a stump, a socket and kind of a fragment of a shaft, and this may have been to mark his grave. He's got a pretty shit reputation. You know, he had a lot of conflicts and that sort of thing. Here I set up a poll of insult against King Eric and Queen Gunhild. And I direct this insult against the guardian spirits of the lands, that every one of them shall go astray, neither to figure nor find their dwelling places, and until they have King Eric and Queen Gunhild taken from this country. Like, man was hated by a lot of people. Like, really, really hated.
Wait, if there's possibly multiple Erics, would there possibly be multiple Gunhilds as well?
Not necessarily. Well, as far as historians are aware, it's the King Eric Bloodaxe, right, that ruled in Northumbria, likely had Gunhild as a consort. Now, Gunhild is not the most uncommon name, so you would find other ones of them through the stories, but she doesn't get confused as often as Eric does, because 1, women are written about less in history. 2, important women are not as common in history, so you don't see them as often, so it's harder to confuse them. And 3, Gunhild is actually one of the few things that several of these epics agree on, right? Like this woman who he was married with. So yeah, you know, but the reason why she's called Mother of Kings is because a bunch of her children with Eric became co-rulers of Norway in the 10th century. Like, several of them did. That's why she's called Mother of Kings. Okay. I'm done.
Okay.
I've done my part to elongate this video.
So, what class do you think Bloodaxe here is going to be?
I think that this man is a berserker.
You would be 100% right.
Oh, damn.
Oh yeah, you haven't seen him yet.
No, I haven't. I have him in campaign though.
Probably.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't clicked into him. I kind of hate it. I don't know what about it is. I think he's just too bulbous.
I say it's the horns.
No, Vorn, the horns would be a turn on for me. It's definitely just something about this is not jiving.
That's a really old sprite, too.
Oh, yeah, that's a very old sprite.
He seriously looks like a Minotaur almost to me, and it's like, what the hell?
So, Eric Bloodaxe, Berserker.
Yay, I was right.
Let me pull my notes back up.
Oh, you put your notes away?
Yes. I don't know why.
Shame.
So, Mr. Bloodaxe here, I told you before, is the butt of many jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I will include my own sort of sin here. When designing the D&D campaign, in prepping Okeanos, I completely forgot he was in Okeanos and didn't write him into the campaign and had to add him in post later.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Not that I minimized his role at all.
Yeah.
I kept his role 1 for 1. He was just not in there very much.
Taco says for shame.
Yeah, in fact, I'm calling it now that of our more recent videos, I anticipate this will be probably our worst performing one in a long time.
Oh man, you guys are gonna have to come back. You guys are gonna have to come back and make this perform well.
But
I kind of hate him though already. I don't know. I'm not. Nah, this ain't doing it for me.
So, as the servant himself is a berserker, on the scale of philosopher to raw, he falls somewhere more well-spoken than that.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, though, he never speaks and instead acts like he's raw.
Well, he's a berserker.
Well, he actually is able to speak, unlike a lot of berserkers.
Oh, he
of
just
that,
chooses
like, raw
not to?
variety. He chooses not to because he has his wife Gunhild in his head at all times.
Oh.
She is always watching his every action, and should he so much as speak to another woman, that woman risks being cursed by his wife.
Oh, Jesus.
Ooh, my.
So he just acts like the raw variety of berserker and lets his wife do the talking when they need to work something out.
Interesting. Please tell me that means that a woman's voice comes out of that face.
I don't think so.
Damn.
Oh.
Gunhild is very protective of Bloodaxe. In a normal Holy Grail war, she wouldn't even let him fight. She'd take over, kill their master, and be done with it.
Jesus, okay.
She is moderately okay with him being used as a servant in the world, like, ending scale scenario of FGO. So that is the one out Bloodaxe has, typically.
Okay.
So if you want, you can scroll down here. Yeah, those are all his roles in FGO.
Oh, none, because Gunhild is too scary.
At this point, just give us Gunhild.
Damn, okay. Damn, they really did this. Homie. Oh, stop shaking the whole camera setup.
Sorry.
Here, let me move the desk back a little. There.
I would merge him. I would honestly have gone into this video merging him with something else, but there's nothing else I can merge him with because they haven't expanded on his lore or surrounding people at all.
Well, I see madness enhancement.
Yep.
There's some cursors. I want more info about Gunhild. I mean, famous Magus, you know, and we don't have anything about her?
Not outside of Bloodaxe here.
Damn. Battle
Wow.
continuation? Okay, that makes sense.
So, in combat, he is obviously going berserker mode, hitting things till they die. But his wife is also, meanwhile, cursing their enemies, weakening them for Bloodaxe to brutally murder.
Okay.
Ooh.
I see he's got 2 noble phantasms.
Yeah, so-
half-dead Bloodaxe.
So, the Bloodaxe itself is a living beast that needs food to survive, the food being the blood of his enemies.
Okay.
Not
it's-
feeding it will result in the axe actually dying, but proper upkeep of your pet bloody axe can result in increased performance and killing ability.
So it's Samehara from Naruto.
I don't...
You don't understand that. Somebody will understand that reference. What is... Okay, people keep asking about La Sangla.
Lasangle?
Yeah.
That is the company that owns FGO. I commonly call them lasagna.
Oh, because I'd never heard that before because you only ever use lasagna. Okay. God damn, McNack, you got me hella confused. All right.
His other NP is called Bloodbath Crown.
Yeah.
This is the result of his wife's curses. Basically, his wife can push him into a state of a rampage that lets him fight past his limit, regardless of the damage he takes during the duration of that. He does still take that damage at the end, but like you kill him, he's going to fight until that rampage is over.
Interesting.
If they kill you, just get back up and hit him.
Okay, so...
Yep.
Oh, this is sad. It's 6 seconds long! Oh, that's it?
That's
What? What?
That was Bloodaxe.
What?
Also, is that a double-bladed axe?
Yep.
I don't think that's correct historically.
Varn, leave the historical accuracy to me. Those were actually quite common and existed. They're called battle axes.
Okay.
And great axes. Not all axes are one-sided for chopping wood.
No, I meant like for Viking stuff, didn't they? Did they have those?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Vorn over here contributing with his historical knowledge, knowing that this, if I named half the historical things I know, he wouldn't have a clue. Bitch, look it up before you ask it on stream. That really is it. Damn.
That is it.
Okay. I'm like frame by framing to see if like...
No, this is an old animation. Has not been updated.
Damn.
You saw the sprite. That is an old sprite.
That's
has
it.
not been updated. This servant is like a launch servant that has just received no updates at all.
Why?
Like, if you even scroll down there, I have a feeling his skills haven't even... Yep. His skills and NP haven't even been updated.
What the fuck? This is like the shortest fucking... What? He's not completely forgotten.
Nope.
He did get a baseball. Look, his axe is turned into his bat. I wonder if it craves blood as well. Aww. Well, he does have old and new.
That's because all of the servants that were 1, 2, and 1 and 2, and I think even 3-star got updates to their artwork because they added backgrounds. And if you even look, that's not a crazy new background. It's only slightly added some foliage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right. Aww.
How long ago was the background ad?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Aww.
Oh, so this is just forgotten.
Oh shit, he barely even has any faces.
Yep.
God damn.
He appears for all of like 5 minutes in Okeanos, dies, and then doesn't do anything for the rest of FGO.
God damn!
Oh my.
Okay. Blood-sucking axe, alright? Even after taking the throne and all the familicide, it wasn't enough blood for the cursed axe. Made from a demonic beast and forged by a witch, various demonic elements devour the king. What about it? The king is aware of the curse, yet if the axe will help him demonstrate his authority as a king, then he has no regrets. Let the feast of blood begin. Okay, that was very short. A letter of appreciation from her. Okay. Valentine's return gift. Thank you for always using my Hex husband. You even had the nerve to give him some chocolates. Next time I would like to, Hex, send a gift in return to Hex. You as a sign of gratitude, is what it says. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Wait, how did we not get killed in Okeanos by those hexes?
Probably because we didn't really interact with Bloodaxe.
Didn't we kill him?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I one-shotted him.
Oh, okay.
Like, immediately. Oh, it's a live, like...
Live commentary.
Oh, God. Burning live seat. Alright. The enthusiasm felt from a fight in the ring stems partly from the passionate shouts and screams and partially from the famed reporter's in-depth analysis. These two are also warriors of the ringside who work to stoke the audience's excitement to whole new levels. Homie, he doesn't even have an anniversary!
Oof.
Nope. This is the single least used servant in FGO, I would say.
Aww. That's sad. I feel sad.
You almost feel bad for him.
I feel really bad for him.
You need to start using him more in the campaign.
No, I don't.
So,
I by the way, Nick Nack, I'd like to make a note to yourself. Move him into my least favorite servants folder.
So, y'all, just while I have you on the line, I just want to ask you, every day a Bloodaxe goes unleveled and unloved in FGO, so if you could slide a little EXP to your local Bloodaxe, we would appreciate, we of the Bloodaxe, Awareness Society would appreciate your generous donation.
Jesus fucking Christ. It's so sad. What the fuck? This poor dude. You're like mistreated. God damn.
Absolutely. Like I said, everyone's forgot him, including the devs.
Aww. They're so sad.
So, I guess...
I feel so bad.
Sekhie, do you want to give us our hint for the next servant in FGO?
Yeah, White in Geardigum.
And we will see you next time, guys.
I like how you didn't do that last time, but you did do that this time.
Look, we're streaming. I'm catching things. I'm forgetting things. I'm going to move us back to the talk zone.